Don't expect that the new technology is going to erase a team member or get rid of a team member. Look at creative ways to redeploy your teams so that you can take advantage of their high skills of their connecting with humans and having those conversations. Imagine if you can redeploy talent that you've already found, you've already have in your pipeline, but if you could redeploy them at the next job that's coming down the pike. So I constantly say to people, don't just treat them as widgets. They are people. So create opportunities where you can constantly create new engagement.
Welcome to AI ToZ. Hosted by AirSwift's Chief Revenue Officer, Anna Frazzetto, we delve into artificial intelligence, health tech, and more. Tune in and journey with us into the future.
Hi, and welcome, everyone. Today, I'm excited to say that we have Susan Donohoe, who's the Chief of Staff and Chief Program Officer for TechServe Alliance. Now, if you do anything in the STEM world and staffing, you know who TechServe is. So, Susan, as the Chief of Staff and Chief Program Officer, you come with a history of business development and creative strategic planning for large initiatives focused on technical recruitment, human capital management, STEM outreach, women in tech, which are just a few of my favorite things, and also not to mention a key producer to one of the premier education networking conferences for IT and engineering staffing industry. So Susan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Anna. It's really, really an honor to be here and chatting with you. You and I have been friends and colleagues for many, many years. So this is an exciting opportunity to connect with you on your very, very successful podcast. So appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Susan. So I figured, why don't we start talking about something that we both are passionate about, and it's TechServe and advancing women in STEM. So maybe you can share with us the evolution of TechServe. I know I personally feel that TechServe is a vital organization to anything that has to do with STEM in the staffing industry. So please share with us.
Absolutely. So it's kind of funny that this conversation is happening today, because just last week, part of the frenetic week of last week for me was we were in the office. We are shutting down the TechServe office and going virtual. We did that after the pandemic and decided we were going to meet the talent where the talent was. And we've been able to hire fantastic people all over the country. But part of that, we had to close down our office. Well, when we did that, that meant going through the historical data of TechServe Alliance, and it was fantastic. There was a lot of laughter over looking back at the years of all the different focuses of the organization. But TechServe was founded, originally was the National Association of Computer Consultant Businesses back in 1987. We came together. I was not there. I've been there a long time, but I was not there in 1987. We came together over a legislative issue, a tax issue, 1706, which brought together owners of IT and engineering staffing firms together to combat a tax issue that they were dealing with that was going to have a major impact on their businesses. That brought the community together. There was multiple evolutions over the years of fighting 1706. Never went away, but it certainly has a different influence on the industry and never stopped being the major focus of the organization. And then from that, we developed, our whole purpose of TechServe Alliance is to make our firms better. So over the last 20 some odd years, we've just been evolving our programs and services to make sure that our firms and IT and engineering staffing firms do things better, more efficiently. There's no secret sauce in staffing. So it really comes down to execution. What you do better, what your people are like, how are you more efficient in the back office? How are you more efficient with your time, with your teams? Obviously, leadership issues. Those are all the things that we focus at TechServe in trying to make our firms better. How do we do that with STEM education? We've been working with STEM education. It's a passion of mine. My entire career has been focused on trying to increase and improve STEM education, STEM participation in our country. It's an ongoing battle. We have not found our secret to how to solve that problem. But what we've done at TechServe is always encourage our local communities to participate in nonprofits that encourage the tech talent, the young new tech talent to come into it, because as you know, Anna, we have a shortage in tech talent in this country, and we have to be creative as to how we get more and more people into STEM education and into STEM careers.
Right. It is amazing that I've been saying this for years. When you take a look at, I think now we don't say Gen Z anymore. I think the next generation is called Alpha, I believe. And when you talk about it, they're probably the masters of using technology, right? Because their world is so digital, and yet we can't stimulate the interest to figure out, well, how does it all work? And maybe I want to play in that field. Maybe I want to be one of the creators of like the next gadget or the next, version of a smartphone. But yeah, one step at a time, I guess, in trying to stimulate some of that excitement. Susan, at AI ToZ, we're enthusiastic about promoting gender equality in STEM fields. So despite ongoing efforts, it feels like there is still such a long way for us to go. What advice can you offer to further empower women in technology?
Well, first of all, I mean, one of the things is again, to encourage our young people to make the careers look fun and exciting and that they have an impact. I know that's been a goal of mine. I luckily have raised two STEM girls, women now. They're in college and grad school. So I'm super excited about that. So I always encourage parents, leaders in our industry to talk to their own kids, talk to their own communities to make sure that they show that there's a pathway of success and excitement. The other part of it is, and I look at it in the staffing industry, is we as, Anna, you're an executive woman and you've in your industry, and you've always reached out to your community and tried to empower them, encourage them. I think we need to encourage not only our female leaders, but our male leaders to look at their teams, raise people up, encourage participation, let them experience, come to the conference, go to other executive events to expose them to the greater staffing community and encourage their participation. I think that if we have our leadership showcasing that there's an amazing team of talent out there, both men and women, and we have to constantly encourage their participation and give them pathways, promote them, give them challenges, let them fail, let them learn from their failures. I think all of those things are necessary. We're not seeing great strides in female participation in the executive level and staffing. There are some great executive leaders who are women, but they're few and far between, and we see that in the data. TechServe Alliance participated in the Women's Business Collaborative survey that we put out. It was a great survey and went out to TechServe Alliance. It went out to the American Staffing Industry. SIA participated in it. NACS participated in it. And the data was compelling. We have a long ways to go. One of the really interesting things that I thought was from the data was that female owners are really good at rising up their female team members and putting them into leadership positions. So there is that correlation between having an executive leader be a female and bringing up their teams.
Yeah, what's interesting is the fact that it feels like there's so much attention that we bring to the discussion at the conferences with some of the surveys. I know Clearly Rated does a lot also in the field and trying to create the data that we can look at and say, okay, we need to have improvement. But yet it feels like the needle it takes so long, and is the needle really moving ahead the way it should be? And there's some scary stats out there that says that it's going to take over 100 years before we see any kind of gender equality, let alone when you start getting into women of color in senior executive positions. So I know a very inspiring story, Susan, when you started the Executive Women's Luncheon initiative. And if you can just talk about that, the way it started to where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite, what you build, you never know what it's going to become kind of story. So this was probably back in 2000 and I don't know, 4 or 5. It was a long time ago. A couple of the executive women leaders in TechServe, when I say a couple, there were just a couple, came together, and I had just started organizing and managing the conference. And they said, we'd love an opportunity to bring our female leaders together in kind of a different way. And it started out super small. It was just a small group of us. We gathered together over lunch, and then word of mouth started, and they're like, wait a minute, I want to be there. I want to be there. But we didn't just come together and talk about, what's wrong with the industry, why aren't women representative or anything like that. We were talking about real business issues. It was a peer-to-peer networking opportunity. And it really just blossomed into kind of the buzz event at the TechServe Alliance Executive Summit. We worked really closely with several different groups. We partnered with Leslie Vickery of ClearEdge, and she, in all of her amazing energy, kind of helped us take it to the next level. But it's fantastic, and it is an opportunity and we do not exclusively just invite women. It's open to anyone who is interested in participating and being part of that conversation. But it's become an opportunity to highlight success stories, challenges, kind of the view of the future of where we're going. Again, some of it is about what can we do to raise women up in the staffing industry, but a lot of it is about what are the business challenges that we're all facing, and just having a very collaborative opportunity to have those discussions. And it is now over, I think, 120 women participate in the event at the annual conference. And the last couple of years, we've actually partnered with the Society for Information Management, which is the organization that represents CIOs, CTOs, and bringing together the teams that are hiring our staffing talent and our executive women together to have a really compelling issue. Because not only do we have issues with executive women in the staffing industry that are trying to figure out how do we keep rising ourselves up, but imagine the teams of executive women and CIOs and CTOs and what they're trying to do to build their teams of people with having not just be the male perspective, but also the female perspectives. Because as we know, in a project, if you only build with the male perspective, you're leaving out an entire market of your female consumers, and you are going to miss the boat if you develop a product that is only exclusively designed with the male perspective. And that is So it was really great to bring these two communities together to kind of have these conversations. But it's super exciting. I don't see it stopping. I see it growing. And what's been nice too is that the other associations have also kind of started their own executive women events. So we're really starting to have a big conversation throughout the staffing industry about the importance of female participation in the staffing industry at all levels.
Right. And you know what I love about the event, Susan? I've been going to it for years. What I love is that the kind of like leave your stripes at the door. Everybody feels comfortable in sharing and being able to ask difficult questions, problems that they might be experiencing in their business, and everybody willing to help each other out. I mean, we see the numbers. We're excited, and the tech side of things that it's starting to inch up in the right direction as far as job openings, but it's been a rough 2 years. Especially in the tech world, not so much in the engineering space, but in the tech world, it's been a rough 23 months.
Yeah. I mean, coming out of COVID, there was the massive boom of, 21 and 22 with staffing. Obviously, there was a technology shift where everybody was going online. Tech needs were growing. You had the combination of the explosion of new technologies being more available for the general public, so things like AI and ChatGPT and generative AI. So, I mean, all of that was happening. And so 21 and 22 were a boom year for the industry. 23 and 24 have been a little bit of, like we joke, it's like the hangover has kind of started. But if you look back onto data to 2019, 2023, 24, is kind of, we're normalizing is kind of, and so I always try to tell people, yes, 22 and 21 and 22 are great for your business, but, don't think that just because you've had this dip, you're just kind of getting back to the normal. And as we know, and we've seen over the decades, staffing always recovers and recovers fast. And so you have to have your firms ready for that recovery. You need to be prepared. You have to have your teams trained. You have to have your sales pipeline built and strong, because it will come, we will merge out of it. And, we really do believe that's always how the cycles have run.
Right. And yeah, I mean, in the last, I think 3 or 4 months, we've seen it kind of inch up, right? So definitely the trend line is being established in the right direction. So
yeah, I mean, you have to also remember too that like unemployment in IT is at 2.4%, and engineering's 2.6%. So we are really, that's really full employment. So you're still fighting for that talent. We still are looking for new ways to find talent. I mean, it's a convergence of, we're not building them fast enough in this country. So we have to rely on a global workforce. And then we also have to look at new things like what are the technologies that are helping us become more efficient. And I think that, so one of the things that I get focused on and kind of another side part of my focus is kind of where is the new technology going? I love talking to our companies and we listen to them. We have these roundtables where we hear what they're doing and what are the different, our staffing firms are really creative and curious. And so they're always trying new technologies. And what are they doing to make themselves more efficient? Because ultimately, this is still a people business. And so as technology evolves, what is it going to do for us? Is it taking away our recruiters? Is it taking away, it's never going to take away our salespeople. It's never going to take away the ability to have a relationship with your client. So we need to use these tools to make our back offices, our firms more efficient. How do we make recruiting more efficient so that our recruiters can actually be talking to the talent versus filling out paperwork versus always putting in different data and everything like that? What are the new tools that are coming out down the pipe that are going to make us more efficient? Because, I honestly believe you can't take away the people from the staffing industry. So let's take advantage of these let's not be afraid of the new technologies. Let's be curious. Let's try them. I think the beauty of people that go into the staffing industry is they're quick to try new things, they're quick to fail, and then they're quick to change and they try something new. And so I think there's going to be a lot of that coming down the pipe some of the new HR tech that's coming out is pretty fascinating, but again, it still doesn't take away the people part.
Oh, exactly. And that kind of leads me, I think, to our last question, Susan, talking about artificial intelligence, obviously playing such a significant role in rapidly transforming all industries, not just the staffing industry. What advice would you give organizations as a whole to maintain your culture and navigate these changes? You want to kind of stay ahead of the curve, but you don't want to be too quick to jump on the bandwagon if it's a tool that's not going to necessarily work for them. So how do you kind of maintain your culture throughout all these changes?
Well, I personally believe it's the connection, good leadership, connecting with your teams. Don't expect that the new technology is going to erase a team member or get rid of a team member. Look at creative ways to redeploy your teams so that you can take advantage of their high skills of their connecting with humans and having those conversations. Again, one of the things we really do poorly in our industry is the consultant care, is the imagine if you can redeploy talent that you've already found, you've already have in your pipeline, but if you could redeploy them at the next job that's coming down the pike. So I constantly say to people, don't just treat them as widgets. They are people. So create opportunities where you can constantly create new engagement. But I really do believe that embracing the new technologies will make your firms more efficient, which allows you then to create those opportunities to be more connected with your people. The technology isn't going away. It's only going to get better. So you as an owner of a company need to look at how you are going to make those adjustments, because if you don't, you will lose.
Right. Okay, Susan, what power word would you like to leave the audience with today? If you were to try to think of one power word.
I guess I was thinking accelerate. This is a time to accelerate. And I don't mean that in like speed and just jump through things. I mean, accelerate and understanding that, moving forward will get you where you want to go. You can't look back. You have to adjust. You have to move. And we are in a time where it's going to change really, really fast. And so if you can accelerate what you're doing, you will be successful.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Susan. It was great to have you here.
Thank you. Appreciate everything. And Anna, I really appreciate you participating with TechServe Alliance as a member of our board of directors. I really appreciate having you as an executive women leader in our industry. So thank you for all you do.
Thanks for joining us on the AI ToZ podcast with Anna Frazzetto. If you found value in today's episode, consider following for more insightful STEM discussions. We'll be back with another deep dive. Until then.